Did Toyota borrow some Chevy styling for the upcoming redesigned Toyota Tundra? If not, maybe they should have. There's a lot of similarities. Let's take a look. Here are the two pictures. The one on the top, of course, is the leaked picture from the new Toyota Tundra. And the one on the bottom is the interior of the brand new Chevy Silverado. Now, what we're looking at here, I guess, I'm just looking generally at first. And if you look at the way everything is, I see a lot of similarities there. Now, one might argue, well, yeah, it's a truck interior. I mean, there's going to be similarities like, you know, they both have steering wheels and turn signals and shifters and all that. And that would be true. But let's take a little bit closer look, I guess. First of all, the thing that jumps right out at me in this is that center column area, or the armrest, I guess. The one on the top is from the Tundra, and you can see it looks almost unfinished. If you look at the edge, the front edge, right in front of that water bottle you can see sitting there, it looks like there's a piece missing. Now, it's things like this that kind of lead me to believe that, well, maybe it's not really a finished truck. But looking down at the one at the bottom, you can see the Chevy's is finished, and I think it looks pretty darn sharp. Now, maybe Toyota will be more similar to that if indeed it is missing that front piece. Who knows? But I do like that more rounded look, I guess, of the Chevy Silverado. Now, looking at the more in the center area, you can see the shifters. Both of them are really pretty similar, although, of course, the Tundra's is facing the front, and it looks like they kind of rotated the Chevy one around a little bit to the passenger side. Otherwise, the design is really fairly similar. Of course, the way they fit in there isn't. You have kind of a leather cowling underneath the one for the Tundra, and then the Chevy's kind of fits down into some kind of a boot, it looks like. Which one do I prefer? Yeah, I don't know. I guess without seeing them in person, I'd say I'd put them pretty close for preference as far as I go. Now, looking at the steering wheel area, we have to address that for a split second. They are fairly similar. Of course, the Toyota has the Toyota badge in it, and the Chevy has the Chevy, but the treatment is relatively the same. It looks to me like they're both open at the top with some structure down at the bottom. They really do look a lot alike, and even the control areas on the sides look very similar to me. Again, it's a steering wheel. I know there aren't going to be tons of differences, right? Now, next, of course, is the grab handle area. You can see the Chevy does have that, and thank goodness they're going to be putting that back into the Tundra. So that is pretty cool. Now, I've been saving this part for last, and that is the screen area. In the picture, of course, on the Tundra, you can't see where it juts up above the dash, but it does, about 2 inches, it looks like. So you've got this screen protruding up above the dash by a couple inches. On the bottom, if you look, you can see Chevy's is nicely integrated, right? It follows the dash line. It doesn't go up high. The trade-off is, of course, it's not as big or as tall as what the Toyota Tundra's is, but I would argue that it's probably just as wide. Now, what I find really interesting, and this is where it gets really similar, take a look at those buttons and the way the volume knob is underneath the radio on the Toyota Tundra and the Chevy Silverado. They look very, very similar. And I'm curious, on the Tundra, it almost looks like they're toggle type switches, like they push down, kind of click down. On the Silverado, it looks like they're more pressure sensitive, like they kind of push in. I don't know if I have a preference for either, although I would say that the ones on the Tundra look to be a little bit dated to me. I don't know. Now, going further down on the Silverado, you can see they've left the control area for temperature and fan speed and all of that in the form of dials down below everything else. Whereas Toyota appears to have another row of those toggle type switches for, I'm assuming, controlling heated seats, the fan speed, air conditioning, all of that kind of stuff. As far as preference, I guess having it the way that Toyota has it gives you more room, you know, in that center area where they have that charging station for the phone, which, by the way, I think is absolutely ridiculous. They don't work. They heat the phone up. They take up space. It's just not a great idea. And you have to have or not have a certain kind of case to be able to use it. You know, like my cell phone, on the back of it, I have this little metal thing where I stick my phone. I'm not going to get rid of that. This would eliminate me from being able to use those kind of charging stations. Now, I could take it out of the case, and I realize it's pretty specific. It's my problem. I chose to go this route, but still, I think if it doesn't function for everybody, irregardless of what you've done within reason, then it's a fail. And I really don't dig it. I think it's a gimmick, and I think it's a waste of space. They could have done something else there. Maybe lowered that area where the switches are down like Chevy did and had the controls there. I would prefer that as opposed to what they have right now with that charging area. So, looking at everything I'm seeing in here, the finished product for the Chevy versus what we're assuming is the finished product. It's a big assumption, I know. For the Toyota Tundra, man, I gotta say, it's a no-brainer. I like the way the Chevy looks inside. All of that looks really nicely integrated to me. Looks like everything has its spot. It works well. It fits well together. I like the look of that screen. I know it's not the giant screen that it appears the Tundra is going to have in it, but still, it'll do the job, and it looks to be quite large anyway. So I don't think we'd really be missing out if we had that kind of a setup in the Toyota Tundra. Now, one other thing I think, again, looking inside, Toyota had said that they were going to blow our minds with this truck. Now, if you were to take this Chevy Silverado interior, put it into the Tundra, I would say my mind would be blown because it would be such a massive leap forward for Toyota, both in form and function. It'd be hard to believe that Toyota would do it. But they didn't. If you look at what we're seeing for what Toyota, again, supposedly is going to have in their truck, it looks rather plain, rather pedestrian. And I know we might be looking at the top of the line Chevy Silverado versus a lower trim level Tundra. So take it with a grain of salt, but they got a long way to go to get from that top picture to that bottom picture in trim lines as far as I'm concerned. Who knows? Hard to say. Hopefully the one on the top that we think is the Tundra is just a mule. They kind of put everything in there, but there's a little bit of tweaking just before they go ahead and release. And also keep in mind, we don't know how old that truck is. You know, Toyota had to do some testing, so they had to create some real-world trucks to pass out for people to drive. So this truck could be over a year old, and everything has since been more refined. We'll find out. Time will tell. Well, what do you think? Did Toyota borrow some styling cues from Chevy or GM for the new redesigned Toyota Tundra? Let me know what you thought of those pictures, the similarities, and do you think they should have? I mean, I'm really digging that Chevy interior. That looks pretty good, and from what I saw of Toyota's, kind of looks like if they just schmoozed it up a little bit, made it look a little better, more like that one, it would look pretty nice. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about my 2020 Toyota Tacoma. And Rob Motive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.